Good evening and a very warm welcome to First Issues. The word liquidation has peppered our headlines and thus our conversations for some time now, with those in the know saying it is a sign of the times. Tough economic conditions and low commodity prices, meaning that mines and their entire value chain are the worst affected. It was the case in 2012 when Boseto copper mine near Tuteng in Ngamiland was placed under liquidation over a debt of 1 billion pula and 800 employees lost their jobs. But companies in other sectors are not immune to financial troubles, as we saw when Bokamoso Private Hospital faced liquidation, as did KFC Batswana more recently. Of course, now with government having appointed a provisional liquidator for the loss-making BCL Limited after ceasing operations at BCL and Tati Nickel mines, the mention of liquidation now conjures up images of Silibe Pikwe's BCL mine, probably the biggest operation to go under thus far. With Batswana's eyes and hearts with the employees and businesses at the mining town, we thought it pertinent to unpack the term liquidation and thus help people get a better understanding of what exactly is going on. We were fortunate to have arguably the best minds in the business, country managing partner Max Marinelli and Director of Taxation Services Terry Brick, both of auditing taxation and advisory firm Deloitte, help us to get a clearer picture.
Various companies sometimes businesses get into trouble and they are unable to meet their obligations on a daily basis. So the average, all businesses have obligations, financial obligations to pay their suppliers, to pay their staff, and to pay the bank and loans. And businesses get into problems and they're unable to meet their obligations. Now this can be for a variety of reasons, but then a liquidation is a sort of a legal process whereby the company its life is sort of terminated. Effectively, you can think of a company that's in liquidation. The company is dead, and it's very, very unlikely. It's not impossible. It's very, very unlikely to ever resuscitate itself. And so the liquidation process is one whereby it's sort of the whole life is terminated of that business.
You say it's not impossible, though, for it to come back. What type of interventions would have to take place for that to happen?
The possible interventions are what we call an offer of compromise. That's sort of quite a complicated procedure, legal procedure, but it has happened, and there have been precedent in Botswana of company in provisional liquidation, and someone's come along and said, we want to buy this out. And they make an offer to the creditors, and then the company is resuscitated. But that's fairly rare.
I think generally when we talk of an offer of compromise, it's exactly what it is. Someone will come to the rescue, but because of the situation the company is in, they don't really offer sufficient to discharge all those obligations. But it's a legal process that allows the creditors, whomever they might be, to vote in favor or against this offer. And if they vote in favor of this offer, generally it's a reduced offer to what they are owed. So they will accept some sort of reasonable offer, and by doing so they will receive payment from this party that has made the offer, but they will obviously walk away and write off sometimes quite significant amounts that are owed. What this needs to do before a court will approve an offer of compromise is also make sure that the company can carry on, that that the company is not going to be in trouble the day after it makes this compromise. Because I think this whole process is really to protect the creditors and allow the company some time to arrange its affairs, to try and in an orderly manner dispose of its assets if it's at the end of its life. So there's no interference from all sorts of creditors who individually will be aggrieved by the losses, and they will want to each bring to the company some sort of legal action. So a liquidation kind of stays any creditor from making any more legal suits against or initiating legal suits against the company, but it's a court process where it's meant to be fair to everyone. So at the end of the process, all the creditors are meant to be treated in terms of their ranking. Because creditors also rank differently in receiving proceeds from a liquidation. You've got secured creditors, that's the banks. They have a building, there's a mortgage, that's their asset. So they get paid first. Then you've got preferred creditors, and in that category you have the likes of the employees, the BERS, government royalties, if it's a mine. So, and then the concurrent creditors, who are just the balance of all the creditors. So when there's a pot of money that is coming, be it by the sale of the assets to be distributed or an offer made by a third party, an offer of compromise, that pot is then distributed to all these creditors, and that's normally done in the ranking, secured, preferred, concurrent.
In your explanation, Terry, you mentioned the term provisional liquidation, which is something we've seen in the papers, but are wondering how is that different from liquidation in itself? Could you?
Okay, every company goes through two stages of a liquidation. One is a provisional liquidation, and then there's a final liquidation. So when application is made to the court to put a company into liquidation, the court will grant a provisional order, and they will appoint a provisional liquidator whose job is to sort of just go and secure the assets, ascertain who the liabilities. At that point in time, no business is being transacted, they're not selling any assets. This is a provisional stage, and it usually lasts 1-2 months, can be longer if in certain circumstances. And then it gives everyone a bit of breathing space to work out what's going to happen. And then it goes back to court on what we call the return date, return to court. And the court will then entertain any objections, if there are any objections from creditors. But assuming there aren't any, then the court will grant the final liquidation order. So the provisional liquidation is a sort of a holding period, if you like.
For the plan to be written up and then decided on, and then final is it being put
once it's gone into final liquidation, then and a final liquidator is appointed, then go through now the process of selling off the assets.
And I think it's in this provisional liquidation stage that a company could be taken out of liquidation if there is an offer and all the creditors are happy and there's a buyer. When the return date in court, there will be an application made to the court. There will be motivation for wanting to take the company out of liquidation. But at that stage, all the creditors would have to approve to this order, and then the company could come out of liquidation. There have been examples where it's happened, and then the company carries on again. Starts again, restructures, and hopefully starts operating profitably, having restructured its creditor base, its loan base, because really that's what it is. As Terry said, a point where a company can't meet its obligations anymore, that's when it goes into liquidation. But if there's a restructure and an offer that kind of almost gives a moratorium on having to repay back all the liabilities, and everyone's happy with it, then of course the company is able to then carry on.
After final liquidation has been announced, can a company still be bought? Can it be brought back to life?
No, it can't.
At that stage,
the company
it's
is
done.
now dead,
Yeah.
and all can be bought are the individual assets. You can't buy the company's dead.
Welcome back to First Issues as we continue to unpack what the term liquidation means, while aware that our viewers may have witnessed or been affected by the closure of several companies in recent years and may be looking to better understand what the process truly entails. We continue our conversation with Terry Brick and Max Marinelli of Deloitte by asking who exactly can decide to put a company under liquidation.
Okay, so in a liquidation, you can have any one of the creditors can file for liquidation, or the company itself, management or the shareholders can file for a voluntary liquidation. So the former is that where there is a creditor that his loans or his obligations have not been met, they can go to court and petition to court asking the court to put a company into liquidation, or if management and the company itself believes that they've come to the end of the road, there's no prospects that they can do anything. And of course, one ought to remember that any director of the company that allows a company to continue to trade recklessly or whilst it's insolvent, causing further losses to its creditors, it's an offence, and the Companies Act is quite particular with that, and the directors themselves can be held liable for further losses incurred. So if it's a voluntary liquidation, they will file for this liquidation, and also to give them this breather that Terry was talking about, to be able to start thinking of ways to maybe rescue the company whilst it's under provisional liquidation, or and possibly sell the assets and realize a better value, rather than people coming in and taking pieces of furniture, pieces of plant, crucial equipment that could be sold at a better price if it was as a one package.
There you have it. I trust that our conversations about liquidation will be much better informed after tonight's discussion, and that they in turn will mean that such measures are implemented much more smoothly in the future. Do stay tuned to First Issues as we take up yet another issue of discussion after the break. Welcome back to First Issues. Batswana are beginning to enjoy more rewards and loyalty programs recently, courtesy of a number of companies, from large financial institutions to small cafes. Along with long existing examples such as Air Botswana's Teamane Frequent Flyer Club and Cresta Hotel's loyalty cards, consumers have now been introduced to Spa Group's My Spa, My Rewards program, First National Bank Botswana's eBucks Rewards, and others. What exactly are we speaking of when we speak of loyalty or rewards programs? We spoke to Jerome Jacobs, a marketing director with the Spa Group, from his office in Johannesburg via Skype, as well as FNB Botswana's head of consumer banking, Nako Bolote, about the offerings their companies have crafted.
My Spa My Rewards is quite simple. It's different from other rewards programs where you've got to earn points over a period of time. And really what makes it unique, there's instant gratification for the customer. So you don't have to wait. When you get to the till and you ring up your transaction, you get the discount immediately. So there's no points like a lot of these other loyalty cards. And it's a great system just to reward our consumers.
eBucks is an FNB reward program that was designed to reward customers for banking with FNB and banking rights. The more customers bank with FNB, the more rewards they earn. In effect, we are just basically listening to what our customers wanted. Our customers constantly told us that for us to be more to them, we have to give them rewards. And we formulated this program where a customer gets rewarded for basic banking practices. Not going to the branch, for example, swiping using our FNB cards, using our ATMs, as well as using our digital platforms. And the more customers do these things and avoid the old-fashioned branch-based banking, the more FNB is willing to reward them with a currency called eBucks. Customers can then spend these eBucks on electricity and airtime.
It should be great news that local consumers are finally getting some of the incentives that others in more developed countries have long enjoyed. It should be fantastic that for a change you get something back when spending your money. But Richard Harriman of Consumer Watchdog says consumers should pause and make a few considerations before getting too excited about such rewards.
If you do the numbers, it is a truly tiny amount. We're not talking 25% off, we're talking a percent or two if we're lucky. We also need to question what they're actually for. Is it because they're kind and charitable and because they love us? No, of course not. There's something in it for them. And my observation, my suspicion is that there are three elements to what's in it for them. First of all, they are tracking us. They're tracking our spending with these loyalty schemes. They're looking at what we're buying, they're looking at how much we're spending, what time of the month we're spending our money. They're developing a huge database of knowledge about what we as consumers do. I think we need to ask, why are they doing this? Why are they giving us these tiny discounts, these rewards? There are three elements to this. Firstly, they're tracking us. They're building up databases, enormous databases of our spending patterns. They know what you buy, what I buy, when we buy it, how much we spend, which particular products we like and which ones we don't like. And that's in order to go to the second level, which is targeted marketing. Sooner or later, we're going to be receiving emails, text messages saying there's a discount on this product, there's a discount on that product, we've got new stock of this, that and the other. It's so they can target their advertising at us, so they don't waste as much money as they have been on advertising to everyone when they could be targeting that advertising revenue at a particular place. And the final part, the third part, is that they're trying to prevent us from buying things from their competitors. If we have a sense that we're going to get something from company A, we're less likely to go to company B and spend our money. So those three elements, I think, are really why they're doing this. They're not doing it because they're feeling kind and charitable and because they love us very much. They're doing it because there's something in it for them.
Those are some pertinent points. What indeed do these companies gain from offering clients such rewards? We asked our company representatives what is in it for them.
We are in the business of providing service to our customers, and it's difficult to have goals as F&B that do not include the customers. We are solving big problems here, our service, our queues in our branches. We are solving the issue of increasing banking charges. So what happens is, the more customers move out of our branches to use our digital platforms, the more efficient we get as a bank.
Well, absolutely. I think like any company, you've got to market. If you don't market your business, you're going to go backwards. Opposition's going to grow ahead of you, and you've got to become a little bit smarter in terms of how you market to your consumers. And the My Spa, My Rewards card allows us to market directly to our customers with products that they're actually looking for, and really making a difference in terms of passing discounts that's going to affect their budget every single day.
Food for thought. We look forward to hearing your views on our various social media platforms. But for now, we head to the final segment of tonight's program. Thank you for staying with us, as in this segment, we continue our look into business practices from other countries around the world. The country under discussion this evening is Denmark, a country the Wall Street Journal says is struggling to gain momentum after the economic recession, leading its leadership to express its fears that it is falling behind neighboring Sweden and Germany, and that future generations may not inherit Denmark's current high standard of living. This does not take away from the fact that Denmark is considered a social and economic model of success by many. Forbes magazine describes it as a modern market economy with a high-tech agricultural sector, state-of-the-art industry with world-leading firms in pharmaceuticals, maritime shipping and renewable energy, and a high dependence on foreign trade. You may be aware of corporate Danish giants, the likes of shipping company Maersk and drugs maker Novo Nordisk. The Danish economy is characterized by extensive government welfare measures and an equitable distribution of income. How does this translate to the work environment and business etiquette to be found in Denmark? Leif Becker, Managing Director of Roleg Logistics here in Gaborone, as well as Honorary Consul of Denmark to Botswana, joins us to give us some insight.
Denmark has got a reputation of being open and very honest. It has been named the least corrupt country in the world for a number of years. Sometimes they're fighting with Finland over that position. But generally, Danish business people are very straightforward. If you make a deal, it's a deal. There's no going back on it, or there's no discussion afterwards of funny business and commissions and things like that. So I think it's a very good business environment we have in Denmark.
How then would you advise me if I was going to Denmark for business? What kind of tips would you give me for my exchanges there?
But first of all, I would advise you to be well prepared in the sense that first of all, you are punctual, stick to the agreement, to the appointment, be there on time, and also whatever product or services you do offer, make sure that you know what you are selling, whether it's a product or a service, and don't oversell it. Don't try to sell a Mercedes if it's a Toyota. It's better to be frank about the product, but it's important that you do know what you are selling. Then I think you'll go a long way to get the confidence of the business partner, possible business partner you will be talking to.
What have you noticed about the way we do business here? Something that maybe you advise your counterparts visiting Botswana as to what they should expect and prepare themselves for when coming to do business here?
I must say Botswana is not too bad in the sense that they're also quite frank and forward. However, there is a little bit more bureaucracy involved, especially if you deal with government. And it's important that you know the agreement with government, you got the right contract, and you purchase orders before you go into any proper deal. In terms of what I talked about before, in terms of corruption, Botswana is still relatively corrupt-free. It's probably one of the reasons why I've been able to be here as long as I have, because I wouldn't be able to deal with anything else.
What learnings do you think Botswana and the Danish work culture, what learnings could we make from those?
If I can get back to a little bit before what I said before about being punctual. That's one of the frustrations sometimes in Botswana, that you make an appointment and it's not always that the person you are supposed to see is available at that time. And that's certainly one of the things that I think Botswana could improve on. Maybe they could learn from Denmark, that it creates a more, what shall I say, confidential relationship, a better frank relationship if it starts off on a good footing.
Which part of our discussion stood out most to you? Do remember to share your thoughts with us via Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or SMS. To conclude tonight's program, we now read the best comment from last week. Now Sai SMS to say that he or she was very hurt by how some people perceive car wash service providers when they are just trying to make a living other than roaming the streets involved in criminal activities, and reminded us that small businesses contribute to our economy and should not be taken for granted. Thank you, Neo, and everyone else who tunes into First Issues week after week. As we bid you good night, we would like to alert you to the fact that unlike other traffic offense incidences that have declined since 2014, the use of cell phones while driving continues to increase. So kindly remember that taking your eyes off the road for even a moment can have devastating and permanent consequences. Until next week and another issue of interest, do stay safe.